And greetings, welcome back. Great to have you. Rush Limbaugh doing more for America in a week than most people do their entire lives. Now, Snerdley's in there laughing. I only say that because so many people call here and thank me for all that I am doing. And I don't think it's actually very much, but I appreciate the sentiment. Anyway, telephone number if you want to be on the program in our final busy broadcast hour today is 800-282-2882, and the email address is lrushmo@eibnet.com. Now, I mentioned this in the first part of the program, but some people, I think, got confused. The first half hour of the program is always a challenge because the audience has things they want to hear first. And if I don't talk about what some people want to hear first, they listen casually until I get to what they really think is the most important thing of the day. And that's when they really tune in. Now, I think most people who listen to this program are more attentive than the average audience out there. So when I say that people listen casually, they're still far more aware of what's happening here than most audiences on particularly television, cable news. And everybody was revved up to hear about two things today. Indiana, number one, and Iran, a nuke deal, number two. And the Daily Show, to people in this audience, big deal, big whoop. But this is fascinating stuff to me. This is pop culture. This is to me, it's very important. Not that I care. I'm not invested in this. But it nevertheless is interesting in a know your enemy framework. So Stewart is leaving. No mas, no mas. Just like Dingy Harry is leaving. I told you that, no matter what the drive-bys make it look like, day to day, the left, they're not riding high. That's what all of this anger and outrage is all about, folks. They're miserable people. They're angry. They're unhappy. They are constantly outraged and enraged. And they're everything they believe in. Obama was their messiah. This was going to be utopia. It's an absolute disaster and a mess, and they know it, and they, of course, can't blame themselves or their ideas, so it has to be our fault. It has to be the Republicans' fault, Bush's fault, you name it. But strip all that away, and they're miserable. They're unhappy. And Dingy Harry leaving the Senate tells me that he doesn't think the Democrats are going to win it back anytime soon. And Stewart leaving the Daily Show, there's something going on there other than tired of doing it, the audience growing complacent, whatever. This is not to say that conservatism is in an ascendancy. It could be, but the two don't mutually go together. The left could be falling apart, and that could be all that's happening. It does not mean that the opposition to the left is doing great things at the same time. I mean, people can grow fed up. It's like what we've always heard about the millennials. This is a very distressing thing when I learned it and heard about it. They don't think America's best days are ahead. They think the best days are behind us. They don't think they're going to have a chance to live as well as their parents did. But they're blaming America. They're not blaming Obama. They're not blaming Obama policies. They're not blaming the political party, the Democrat Party. They're blaming the country. The country has finally failed to live up to its promise. That's a bad, bad thing here. And I think people can grow weary of the Democrat Party and the left, but not at the same time think we ought to choose conservatives or Republicans. That the Republicans and conservatives have to earn that support. And that's a whole other matter. So I think that all of these resignations from entertainment and politics by people on the left means something when you include what is obvious to anybody observing. They're not happy. They are even the comedians, even the people trying to make people laugh, they're mad. Everybody out there is enraged. Everybody's upset to one degree or another. Mad, enraged, outraged, fit to be tied, disappointed, you name it. The range of negativity and pessimism, I think, has totally overwhelmed the left, more so than usual. So anyway, in the midst of all this, we get a new host for The Daily Show. And you realize the left is totally invested in this show. This show, The Daily Show, is the daily dose. It is the prescription that fulfills the needed ingredients for hate of Republicans and conservatives every day. That's why this show is important to the left. Fake news for liberals is one of the only things that keeps them from going totally insane. And so it matters to them who's going to host this show. This show is where they get their daily injection of hate and bigotry and anger and all of that. And they're worried now that somebody coming along may not be able to fill that syringe as well as Stewart has. So they're interested in this new host, this Trevor Noah guy from South Africa. And I'm reading some of the leftist critics about the guy. You know why they like him? You know what? He's just like Obama. He's half white and he's half black. That's a great qualification, right? It is to people on the left who judge people totally on the basis of surface characteristics. Also, there is the TV columnist at Salon.com. Salon.com is also part of the insane leftist internet blogosphere website coalition. And the name of the TV critic at Salon is Sonia Saraya. And listen to some of the things that she has written about this guy. She's just so excited. She thinks that he's great because he's biracial. She thinks he's great because she's from another hemisphere. Noah is a literal product of apartheid, as his mother was black and his father was white, an illegal union at the time in South Africa. It is this, ultimately, that is going to get the most attention. Praise from those of us excited to see any club of all white, all men rendered extinct. Yeah, you heard me. That's right. That's what she said. She's a TV critic at Salon, and she likes this guy because he represents the rendering extinct of all white, all male institutions. Whether it's late night television, or whether it's the presidency. The tenor of conservative criticism of The Daily Show is about to get very, very, very ugly, she writes. This country spent years embroiled in a debate over whether an American citizen who became the president was really American. Well, what are we going to do to Trevor Noah? Conservative critics have a practiced double-speaking method of piling on the heat on figures who stand out because of their race or gender or sexuality. Meanwhile, the left is the only people talking about this. The left are the only... I didn't know the guy was biracial. I didn't know he was from South Africa. I didn't know he had a black mother and a white father, or vice versa, until they told me in the midst of passing their judgments on that. And now they're predicting that conservatives are going to be the ones that have the cows over it while they're in the process of giving birth to the cow over it. And then she says, look, prove me wrong. I hope I'm wrong because I'm so excited about Trevor Noah. Get this next. He is going to bring the perspective of a whole other hemisphere to the American conversation, and he's ushering late night into an era where it's not an oddity or a fluke to have a host that isn't a white man. Noah joins Larry Wilmore on Comedy Central to make a daily night block of two hosts of color. This while network late night continues to be all white, even with the new hires James Corden and Stephen Colbert on CBS. But as Noah told the New York Times, it quotes him anyway, it's so great we're finally going to have somebody from a different hemisphere because this hemisphere sucks, don't you know? This hemisphere, the home of global warming, the home of discrimination, the home of blatant sexism and racism and bigotry and homophobia. We deserve somebody from another hemisphere and their perspective and in Trevor Noah, we are getting it. And then she concludes by writing this. I hope we can prove to Trevor Noah that we deserve him. And that we'll stand for him, too, when it's necessary, because though it's clear that he's used to backlash, I'm not sure that we are. This is insanity. This is insanity on parade. This is lunaticism. I hope we can prove to Trevor Noah that we deserve him. What an attitude to have. You're in an audience, you're coming there hiring a comedian to host the show, and you hope that you, as an audience member, can prove to him that you deserve him. What is he, God? Do you have the same attitude about Obama? Oh, I hope that we can really prove to Obama that we deserve him. Meanwhile, this savior from another hemisphere, this first attempt at making extinct the all-white, all-male late-night TV host, has put some very anti-Semitic, anti-Jew tweets out there, and they have been found. And they have been reprinted and published here. I'll share with you some of them. South Africans know how to recycle like Israel knows how to be peaceful. Behind every successful rap billionaire is a double as rich Jewish man. What does that mean, Mr. Snerdley? It means that behind Jay-Z is some rich Jewish guy? Right. Some rich Jewish guy. If it weren't for the rich Jewish guy, Jay-Z wouldn't stand a chance. Jay-Z is nothing more than a frontman for some rich Jewish guy pulling the strings behind the scenes, right? That's what the tweet is. Behind every successful rap billionaire is a double as rich Jewish man. Farrakhan, you don't want to be that blatant about it. You gotta hold some cards close to your vest. Now, they also found some stuff from his Facebook page, and this printed out. It printed the graphic of the Facebook page, and it's really too small for me to read. So I'm going to go back and reprint this in a readable portion. It's found at PJ Tantler. So, but it's, I mean, these posts at Facebook and some of these tweets. I mean, this guy genuinely has a problem with Jews. And so they're just going to have to wait and see here. Mr. Snerdley asked, what if this guy's ratings suck? Well, that's always a risk. But it doesn't matter. It all depends who his writers are. If the writing team stays the same and the words on the prompter are the same things that Stewart would say, this guy has a little bit of input. I mean, if this show is what it is, the people who do this show know what it is. And as long as there's anybody up there that can deliver hate for Republicans and conservatives and make it look like humor, it'll be fine. That's all it is. See, it's the comedy that provides the buffer. Just a comedian. Come on, you need to learn to laugh at yourselves, conservatives. Just a comedian. Come on. We're not talking about anybody with really power here. That's how they excuse all of this stuff. Anyway, they're just all a Twitter here over the... This is news everywhere, this guy being hired. That's how important this show is. Fake news is the biggest show of the day to liberals.